Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Zarif, and I am so happy to be here on behalf of the AAECF Director in Health and Wellness activist. I am really happy to be here today. Was your day busy as mine? I mean, my day was busy. I know I missed a couple of words here, but was your day as busy as mine? If your day was as busy as mine, hey, you know what? It didn't kill you, did it? You're still here and you're still moving. Thank you very much. I want to start off. Thank you very much from all the wonderful people that tuned in last Friday on the 4th of February. Today is February the 11th, 2022, and we're going to share a wonderful perspective about the history of nutrition. So I want you to stand by. I want you to share with as many people as you can. Make sure that you let them know that we're live now on YouTube, and we will love to have them come in, watch, leave comments, and participate in this wonderful presentation. Again, for those of you that are just joining us, I'm Dr. Farid Zarif, and I'm a health and wellness activist that will help you to understand some of the concepts and perspectives that we have today and how did we get here. So let's start off with the beginning, because that's the best place to start, right? Well, if we think about some of the things that we ate as far as the things that were consumed in order to sustain our body were things that were, of course, indigenous of the area in which we lived in. In other words, if we lived on a beach, or we lived on an island, or we lived somewhere surrounded by water, we would eat things that were in that environment. If we were in the city, we would eat things in that environment. So what it comes down to is people eat according to where they live. Some things changed for a while, like a long while. It's called slavery. But not only slavery, but many other people that were oppressed by many of the dictators, people that propagated eugenics, and people that even looked exactly like us at some point owned slaves. And there was a lot of abuse at that time. And there were some rare exceptions too. As you know, if you've been studying Black history, that there were many people that didn't come up poor. They came up under the auspices of people that had a lot of money, probably not as comfortable as we are today, but nevertheless, they were more comfortable than those that worked out in the fields. So let's look at a few things. Here, I'm going to just discuss with you the very wonderful thing about the what we can do as Black or African American people or Africans. Now, we know that there's identity crisis, and we deal with that constantly, but much of that has to do with the history. Now, many of the things that we eat today, we eat it because of the type of behavior that we witnessed toward us. The things that we were taught during all of these years, being oppressed, not being free, being unfairly treated. And of course, the story goes on and on. But from that, we had great people that rose up to the challenge and started all different types of boycotts and different types of protest. There were a lot of situations that produced carnage, a lot of blood, death, and that's on both sides. So there has been incredible history that has already been paved by our ancestors, those that have lived before us, and those that some of us feel holds us accountable today for our behavior. Now, today we're going to be talking about the history of nutrition. Of course, I can't avoid talking about being Black in America or being African American in America, although I think that the only really Americans that are here are those that are indigenous of the United States or the Americas, and those are Native Americans. I don't know, you might have an argument there with me, but I think that by grouping or by being cohesive and on that one name, African. Now you can break all of this up and we can argue until the cows come home, as they say, but we do have an opportunity to make great strides in America, great strides in our relationship, in our connection with one another, great strides in the understanding the differences that we have by starting off identifying ourselves as African. As some people think, African is not only a word that is used to address or to categorize those from Africa, but it is also global, to be known all over the world as Africans. Now, that's some people's belief, and there's many of them. The idea is let's get the conversation started. Now, today, much of what we're going to talk about are things that will allow us to eat in a healthy sense. And if you have any comments, please leave your comments down there. Thank you for last week's comments. They were beautiful. Pass the word. Even while you're watching, share and have people come in and like and share and subscribe. The AAECF Inc. is a station that we're going to be bringing you very educational programming so that it will start the conversation and end some of the old narratives about ourselves, about the way that we live, about the way that we produce families, and about the way that we treat each other. So we write our own stories. Remember, we'll be discussing his story. This is live, so it won't be any cut. He didn't say discussing, right? So get used to it for those of you that's taking, taking score. But this is a wonderful day to be Black, to be African American, to be in a position to work, to be free, to help others, and to continue to spread on the good news of the possibilities. Okay. Now, when we look at the history, we're looking at religion. You cannot you cannot separate the two things. The way that we eat is so interwoven with the way that we believe. It is synonymous. So when we talk about eating a certain way, we're also talking about believing in a certain way. They hardly ever conflict because what a person eats has everything to do with what a person believes. Now, there are some situations where people are a little different than what I just stated because they may be hungry. They may be people that are dying of starvation. And all of the different choices that we have, those of us that can eat on a full stomach, they don't affect us like they would a person that is dying of starvation. A person that is dying of starvation simply eats in a way that keeps them alive, is all about surviving. Whereas a person that has a choice to eat, then they have no excuse or should not have an excuse for optimal health. But we do. Some of those things that we'll talk about today will be obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, atherosclerosis, cancer. So here are some of the things that are here very prevalent today. They are on the top of the list when it comes to our mortality rates. We also have many comorbidities because of these habits of eating that are directly connected to us, food to the person. So let's today find out this information, listen to it, and commit to ourselves to make changes when it makes sense to you. Not for it just to be, not for it to be just a conversation or some entertainment, but we need to listen and then we need to act on it, okay? All right, so every once in a while, I'll stop and I'll remind you where we are, what we're doing, what we're talking about. I'm Dr. Farid Zarif, and I welcome you. I'm presenting a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to learn more about the history of nutrition, brought to you by AAECF Inc., and this is our YouTube channel. So please stay tuned because we will be sharing things with you that you'll find quite interesting and quite helpful. Now, there's a few notes that I wanted to share with you in here. When it comes to Black American, African American people living below the poverty line, they're about 2 times as many as most races. Now, there's a lot of what is called hopelessness. Let's tackle that word first. Hopelessness, what does that mean? We've been using it for a very long time. We've been also using the word hope for a long time. Hope does not have a strategy. There's no strategy in hope. There's no plan in hope. So one of the things we can start off with is stop using the word hope, but replace it with the word expectation. When you work, you put the time in, the work in, you roll up those sleeves, you get a little dirty. Well, guess what? You can expect something happening if you if you till the soil and you nurture it with let's say fertilizer, you water it, you plant the seed, and you're looking over it. You also put up something to protect it against insects and so forth. You put in the work. So what do? You expect, not hope, you expect for that particular vegetable or fruit or a root to grow, right? You expect it. Why? Because you put in the work. Now, can you just go on some land and look at the dirt and just say, well, I sure hope, I sure hope, I sure hope? Nope. It just won't work. So let's keep that in mind as we're listening so we can have an open mind today and learn as much as possible. Now, I'm going to veer from the focus on just the history because there's so many things I want to get in here today so you can take into consideration. One of the things is that when we were slaves, we ate like slaves. If we came from Africa and we were poor or living in the different villages and where the different tribes live, we still ate according to what was available. When we got here to America, we also did that. We are very creative. So using the pig, eating everything that we can from the pig, but guess what? It wasn't only the pig. We ate rabbits, we ate chicken, we ate parts of the cow. And these are some of the things even today are shocking because you have to ask yourself, when in the world did we start eating pig's feet or pig ears or pig snout or pig stomach or pig intestines? You know that. In Spanish, they call that tripas. In English, they call that chitlins. So we don't think that we're the only ones in the world that eat in this way. If you've ever been to Nigeria, in Lagos especially, you will see that there are so many. If you've ever been down to the city where the farmers and the hunters are selling what they've captured, boy, you really will be shocked, because there's some foods there that, like, what? And then there are also other foods in other parts of the world that people eat while the animal is still alive. So we have, like in the Philippines, for instance, there's a dish where they actually take a baby mouse and dips it into the sauce and then eats it alive. And they say it's delicious. That's about as close as I can get to that, because I already know that I won't be eating it. You have other places that actually eat snakes. You have other places that eat a combination of things. And I'm talking about people in Cuba, Brazil. I'm talking about people even New York versus California, California versus Detroit, Detroit versus Canada. You see, all of we eat according to where we live. So it used to be thought that we were the only people eating that. But if you are Hispanic, Mexican, if you're Salvadorian, if you're, whatever, wherever you've come from, a Spain, a Spaniard, wherever you've come from, it doesn't matter whether or not I'm getting these names right. The main thing is that you know what I'm talking about. And I think so far, so good. So we want to just give you the idea that everywhere on the planet, there's different things that people eat. Crocodile, they eat bear, they eat sheep, they eat horses, they eat camel. They have, I saw a photo the other day of a group of men preparing to barbecue a camel. I've also seen a giraffe being prepared to barbecue. It seems like everything can go straight to the grill. So this is where we got our ideas when we're outside and we're grilling things, whether it's burger ribs or whatever, hot links or whatever. These are things that are actually eaten by us, but it comes with the emotional contact or emotional connection of those days that we spent with mom and dad and the cousins and our nieces and nephews and friends. It is a wonderful gala event. And that's because our history involves those types of food, even the smoke, the smell of smoke in your nose, and the sounds, the crackling, the smelling, the aroma of what we're cooking. All of this is because we have this connection with food. Now, that's a beautiful thing to have a connection with food, because when you have a connection with food, it means that you're thinking about what you're eating, you're thinking about how it helps you to stay alive, you're thinking about how delicious it is, you're thinking about the people that are enjoying it with you. All of these things take a huge part in enjoying the foods that we eat today, and the continuation, the sustaining of these same habits over all of these years. But know this, that there weren't stoves at all times. So many of us, we use the grill because the grill is, in fact, the first stoves. And we make these grills. Sometimes we see some incredibly beautiful grills that are made in a factory, or we'll see very primitive grills, and it's just as good because it gets the work done. So people will use maybe a gate, or they'll use a fence over a hole, or they'll use whatever is most suitable in order to cook that particular food. And yes, the vegetables are there. They grill vegetables too. And many people have found that to be absolutely delicious. Now let's move on from today. We talked about the barbecue. We talked about that. We also separated it that some people eat because of starvation. They have to eat that way. And then we have other people that have a choice. They have a choice. So what are we talking about? If you have a choice, then do you really have a reason to be sick? Do you really have some type of excuse why you're not at your best? Well, the reason that we're talking about this today is to perhaps give you more choices, more things to decide on, to choose from, to be the optimal being that you're designed to be. So let's move along and talk about a few more things here. One of the things that we know when we do eat incorrectly, we know that we eat or not healthy, I should say, because incorrectly is so, let's say, subjective, right? But when it comes to eating those foods that will help to maintain health, how do we know that? We have studies? And the studies are very, very important, because when we're talking about studies, we're talking about these particular references to teams and doctors and scientists that have found this information and that has proven in one way or the other that this works. And usually it's through studies, it's through tests. And this is how we build up our trust, by the discoveries that these professionals find, or they discover. Okay, let's go ahead. I want to read a couple of things here. I'm going to go here. Attitudes. Black and African Americans hold beliefs related to stigma, psychological openness, and seeking help seeking, which in turn affects their coping behaviors. Now, I read that a little broken up, so I'm going to do it again. Black and African American hold the beliefs related to stigma, psychological openness, and help seeking, which is in turn, affects the coping behaviors. The participants in this study were not very open to acknowledging psychological problems, but they were somewhat open to seek mental health services. I just read that, not to keep going back to it, but I have a whole study in front of me right here. It'll take us off point right now. But the point that it'll help me make is that we as a people all need healing. So why don't we take time to just talk just a few seconds about that? If we heal, we're healing, or when we talk about healing, we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. And some people call it stress disease. And this is when people have many memories, and these memories of something that you saw too early, something that was very violent, something very hurtful, something that repeats in your mind over and over, betrayal, many things that were very heavy, and they inculcated your mind, and you've been carrying this for years, right? Now, many people also use the PTSD as post-traumatic slave syndrome, or slave disorder. So, we won't go into that right now, but let's make a note of that, because we might come back to it. The other thing is that we need to heal, because many of us have been through tremendous, stressful, destructive, injurious, painful experiences that we can't even explain, things that science can't explain. Losing our parents early, some of us growing through all the way through adulthood and not even knowing our parents, especially not knowing the fathers. Now, there's a story behind that too. We don't have time for it in today's story, but perhaps we'll touch on that later. However, when we talk about the history of nutrition, many of the ways that we eat today are connected with our sadness, our trauma, our pain, our injury. So all of the way that we eat, many times it's not just about what we see on the TV screen. I don't think we're not that gullible and we're not that easy to just shape our minds. We have to be convinced like everybody else after they show it over a million times. But on and on, we see these particular products and we sing the little songs that go along with them, and we act the way that they do, and we rush out and we buy what they're selling. Well, you have some people or some of these manufacturing companies that are so rich that they can afford $1 million per minute every 24 hours. Yeah, that's a lot of cash. And here comes Mr. Nutrition that tells you, hey, this is not good for you, and you shouldn't eat then, you shouldn't eat that, and you shouldn't eat this, and you shouldn't eat that. Well, good luck with that, because we got a difficult situation when we know that we're outmanned, we're outnumbered in as far as the publicity goes, and we're definitely we're outpowered when it comes to somebody filming and having the money to put it on where it can be seen. We're talking about the history of nutrition, and welcome to this wonderful presentation brought to you by AAECF Inc. And welcome to our station, everyone. This is a wonderful time to just take some time to think about some of the things that we should be talking about. We shouldn't be eating chitlins just because mom and dad did it. We shouldn't be eating hog maws and tripe and pigtails and pig snout, pig ears, pig feet, knowing that they're directly connected to high blood pressure, diabetes, overweightness, obesity, atherosclerosis. Yes, these are the foods that can definitely kill us slowly and can cause so many diseases that they're simply uncountable. Now, some people argue the point, I ate this, my grandfather ate until he was 80 years old. Imagine how healthy he would have been if he didn't eat that food. Many of the foods today, including some of the foods that are put out by fast food groups. Let me see if I can bring up something for you so we can share that. I want to show you, if I can find it, and I certainly will. I want to show you, just to give you some of the ideas of, okay, I got it here. Some of the ideas that may, sprout a change in your life. I am going to go here. A little change here, everybody. Let's go to share screen, and we're going to go here. I'm going to share that. See that? I'm going to enlarge it now. And from enlarging it, what I'm going to do here is do that. Good. Okay, so here in the history of nutrition, some of the things that we want to add into this wonderful opportunity to share with you. We want to add a few things. Let's go. First of all, these are teenagers. These are young boys, and I don't know exactly what tribe that they're representing, but however, look at all of them, and usually even in the United States, when a child is young, they usually run slim. Why? Because they stay busy. They're doing a lot of things. They have projects. Today, many of those projects have to do with sitting and just using a joystick or some kind of apparatus, some kind of equipment to play games on a monitor. these children probably never even heard of a monitor before. And they definitely were busier than some of our children today. So these are children, however, that ate the foods that were in their community. They ate the foods that were indigenous of their surroundings, their environment. And that's exactly what we do today. An African meal today may consist of cabbage, this is an onion, sweet potato, carrots, rice, and fish. Now, as we talk about this, we'll have many of the things that you'll see today represent the different areas and what people actually eat in these areas. So you have big burgers like this, a different burger over here. People in Northern California known for all the different vineyards, so a lot of wine there. You have people that are up in the colder places in like up in Washington that may eat salmon, and Alaska also. Alaska is the largest state in the Union. Alaska is the largest state in the Union, and it's not the most populated, but it is the largest state. And there are many fish that people eat, and that's a part of living in Alaska. Then we have, as you see, all different types of meat. Now, this used to be a cow. This came from a cow. What's here on this sandwich, that came from a cow. So a lot of things that we're eating is because it is indigenous of that area. So you have Wisconsin, you have, for instance, the dairy cheese. You have a bison that is near the other, like Central America. Down in Texas, you have the different chilies, and you have other fried foods and sandwiches in Florida, and all the way up to New York, pizza, and on and on and on. The idea here is that we eat in consideration for where we live. We eat with what is available with where we live, and we eat these things because we've also learned even from birth, even from being a child, we get used to eating certain foods and enjoying certain taste. Now, before I go on again, everybody, I just want you to welcome you. I want to reset the presentation so that you'll know exactly what we're doing today. I'm Dr. Farid Zarif. I am the AAECF Director of Health and Fitness, and I am your host today on our YouTube channel, AAECF Inc. And we're talking about the history, juicy mouth. We're talking about the history of nutrition. Please leave your comments down in the comment area. Also like us and subscribe, because we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to have more for you, and we're going to share those things as we learn it. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Make sure that you share also. I want to thank everybody on the AAECF staff that are making this happen as we speak. And thank you for you all taking time to share with us these messages on the history of nutrition. Now, as we look here, everybody, we know that some of the things that we see today, we'll say, no way I would eat that. But that's only because we were brought up another way. It doesn't mean that we're any smarter than anybody else. It doesn't mean that we're better than anybody else. It doesn't mean that those people are uncivilized. You have plenty people that, you have brilliant people that are vegans, and you have plenty people that are carnivorous, or people that eat meat. I'd like to just call them meat eaters, because carnivorous is like jumping on the back of a bull or something and just, like, biting into without cooking or anything. But I think the civility comes in when we're cooking something that was alive. I don't know if I can even when I said that, I'm like, it's still something wrong with that. But that's me. That's me. I'm not here to recruit or anything. I just want to make sure that you're getting the knowledge that is needed to make informed decisions. So what are we looking here? We're looking at not only the different animals. We have marine life, and marine life includes the different plants from the sea, different animals from the sea. Marine life can be marine plant life and marine animal life. Then we have all types of animals that walk the land, those animals that we've seen before and some that we haven't ever seen. But everything up here, at some point, somebody has caught it and eaten it. And then you have let's go back here. Okay. All right. Let's do that again. You know how technology is sometimes, but we okay. We here, and that's where we're finishing up. Let's go to the next thing. So now, everybody, hey, everybody, thank you again for being there. I know that as you talk, when you get lectured to, sometimes it's like, whoa, got to pay attention. And this is really good. Remember, it's going to be archived for you in our AAECF archive, and that is on our channel, AAECF Inc. And you can come back and listen to this, share this with your family, so that it gets you a better idea about the decisions that you're making. Now, here you'll see things that are in a box, in a can, in a bottle, and they can stay on this shelf for a very long time. Now, is that real food? Well, many people refer to this professionally and on the street as non-functional food. Now, mostly, of course, professionally, because most people cannot even dream of eating a cake unless it's made by somebody and it's put in a box. Many people don't make their own vegetable soups. Instead, they buy a can of it. Many people don't eat peanuts or different types of nuts unless they're dry and roasted. And then we have other foods that are pasteurized, like pasteurized milk, pasteurized butter, pasteurized margarine, pasteurized cheese, pasteurized yogurt. It goes on and on. And when you eat from this food will keep you alive. It'll keep you alive. But the question is, will it keep you healthy? When it comes to this kind of food, it's only two choices here. You're going to eat food that is refined like this. Refined means that it has been taken from one shape. Usually, sometimes it's not, the shape may stay the same, but if they take a potato and make potato chips, or corn and make corn flakes, or if they take things like perhaps the cream from milk and they make a milky ranch dressing with it, or they take mustard seeds and they take the mustard and they make the color, they stabilize the color, it's all bright yellow like it's paint or something. All of these things are refined. Now, some people use the term processed. Processed is not the same thing as refined. Processed means that you take, for instance, cabbage. and you chop that cabbage up. Huh? Got it? What is that? That's slaw, isn't it? Yes, it's chopped cabbage like that. And what happens is the same thing like if you take a carrot and you start shredding that carrot and you put some raisins in it, you have raisin salad, right? Or carrot salad with raisins, all right? So you have those particular outcomes, but it's only when something is taken, if you take that carrot and you remove the vitamins and minerals from it, and then you make some, let's call them carrot chips. Well, that's refined. So refined is the removal and the removal of nutrients, and a lot of time the changing of the shape and the flavor, whereas the processed foods are not. So processed and refined is different. Refined, definitely dangerous to your optimal health. And you have other food such as processed, which is not dangerous to your health, because it is just, when we are cooking fries, for instance, right? You just and then you bake the fries and you put them into the oven, you have baked fries, right? So when you do that, that is called processed, okay? When you make a smoothie out of frozen fruit, then you make a smoothie out of that, that is processed, not refined. All right. Okay, so we're looking good, everybody. We're almost there, and it is beautiful. Here are some more refined edibles. When you're talking about milk, for instance, milk is definitely refined. This starts off as the butter, and that dairy butter. Many things comes from that dairy butter. I'm going to go back, and you get milk. This is called the dairy. You get cheese, you get butter, and some of us also, we use eggs, which you don't see them here directly, but eggs are in this bun. Eggs are in this donut. Excuse me. Egg can be in the crackers. Egg can be in the different pastries. So there are foods that are directly available to you and foods that are indirectly available to you. For those of you just joining us, I'm Dr. Farid Zarif, and I am representing AAECF. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness. Now, remember, we're not here to get you to be a patient. We're not here to recruit anybody. If you have a PCP, make sure before taking any of these things that I am suggesting to you as a part of your healthy program, make sure that you get the okay from your PCP, your principal care physician, or the principal care physician is the person, man or woman, that can be at your service. They give you services primarily and exclusively to you, but they also can recommend another specialist like myself to help you with those things that are appropriate. Here are some of the leading causes of young people dying today. You have accidental death. Number 2 is suicide, homicides. Oh man, and a lot of these people, especially in the music field, people that are artistic, some of the best and creative minds that are young minds that have been taken out by, other people with guns and weapons. It's just a sad affair. 4th is heart disease. Yes, even the young men are dying from heart disease. And a lot of that isn't just by the eating of these foods that are filled with saturated fats, but the stressors of life, the stressors of being young and Black can also be very, very injurious to your health. Then number 5 is cancer. Now you would say at that young age, why cancer? So, again, watching what you eat, understanding more about the carcinogens, what they are, where are they located, how are they produced, how do they injure the body, know about that. Leukemia is a cancer. Carcinoma is a type of cancer. Colorectal cancer is a type of cancer. So find out more about that as you continue to evolve in health and wellness. And then number 6 is the use of police force. Number 6, this is including asphyxiation, beating, a chemical agent, a medical emergency, a taser, or a gunshot or gunshots. Now, I know it's very hard to stick to the task, and that is just to share some of the wonderful things that we're talking about today. We're almost there, and these are very hard things to listen to and want to, and to just to keep going, but we got to stay focused. We got to stay focused. 100,000 Black men and boys, and 100,000 Black men and boys suffer from these particular mortalities, and 39 in 100,000 in white men. So white men and boys. So you see the difference. You see that for every 100,000, 100 of our young Black men and boys die from one of these causes, and only 39 of white men and boys. Now, this isn't something that I'm getting ready to pull a racial card. It's just that we are in a system that continues to perpetuate death and injure to our young men and boys. We need young men and boys to continue our wonderful culture. So this is just a comparison, but this is about us making the decisions that we may live with equality, fairness, great health, great wealth, and the equality of all people. Okay, I think that is it. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share right there. So that gave you some, that gave you a lot of the things that, we've been talking about, gave you some ideas. And I think those are the things that I would suggest for you to answer in yourself. Do the things that you want to do. Do the things that you're here to do, the plans, the creativity. You might be an athlete that's just incredible, waiting for the world to see you, and the world is waiting to see you. So those, the men and women, girls and boys, the things that I've been sharing with you today are some of the things that you can rise above, some of the things that you don't have to suffer from. And it's a beautiful thing when we can make a decision and improve our lives. Some of the things that we want to put on your mind here is the detoxing. You hear that a lot. Some of the things that we hear in the Black community, I'm just going to list them here. Detox, which is like people say cleansing. Well, most of that came from, people that are actually on, that like they're addicts, the people that are addicted to drugs. And you will hear that's pretty commonplace when you're in rehab. So the cleansing and detox actually comes from that genre of medicine, but many people use it now as taking laxatives or taking certain juices that they drink, or mixing of certain decoctions. However, the detoxing and cleansing has a very important purpose, and that is to help those of us that I wrote some good notes down, so it's a good time for me to use these notes. When it comes down to toxins in our body, we need to get rid of those. Some of the toxins here are the toxins are endotoxins, And these endotoxins are byproducts that our body makes, such as lactic acid, urea, and feces. Now, we have to get rid of that. We have to have good bowel movements, making sure that we eat fiber, because the fiber coming from the fruit, the vegetables, the grains, the nuts, the legumes, beans, everybody, is really very, very helpful. And we have to be steady with that, because our body will be negatively affected by these toxins if we don't become proactive in doing something about it. So those are the endotoxins. The endotoxins, again, are the byproducts such as the lactic acid, the urea, and feces. Now let's go on to these are the exotoxins, and these are the toxins that come from outside of the body. They include chemicals from cleaning products to cosmetics, pollutants from air or water, and pesticides on the food. So like when we were talking about getting, not allowing people to spray, and we want organic instead, or those people that are using these exotoxins, again, which are the chemicals, and they're also cleaning products. Like we have a lot of exotoxins, like when we're breathing all this stuff in, even the fumes, like gas fumes at the gas station, that don't supposed to be in your nose. Even that new car smell that you're like, doesn't that smell good? Well, I won't argue whether or not it smells good, but is it healthy? So keep in mind, those are some things to be aware of. And those are the two different toxins to remember are endotoxins. Again, the endotoxins and the exotoxins. All right. Next, the thing that you want to keep in mind, we talked about detoxing, and detoxing also comes with alcohol. Detoxing is, other things that you drink. For instance, like the effervescent, bubbly, sizzle sodas. We call them pop in Detroit. On the East Coast, it's called pop. But those sodas are, can be very hazardous to your health. So make sure that as you are choosing what to drink and what to eat, that you look into it. You want to look more into plant-based foods today, because plant-based foods are now connected with those foods that are healthiest for you. Whereas the foods that aren't so healthy, the foods that are like really injurious to your liver or your brain or your heart or your circulation, you should know about those things. Let's pay more attention to what we eat, because if we don't, think about it. 10 years ago is probably the same thing that you've known for the last 10 years, nothing new. And the reason that holds or sustains so long is because most likely what you need to know is monetized. And if what you need to know is monetized, that means that you have to pay for it, right? And the other things that are monetized are like if you have, for instance, veganism, P&L. P&L, by the way, is those are plant nutrient lifestyle, means plant nutrient lifestyle, which is my favorite, because it's all about those people that also stand up for human rights. Whereas you have vegans that stand up for the rights of animals, but we prioritize the human animal first. And we also eat some of the things that were probably be object to the vegans, such as honey. We'll talk about that later, because there are some things that we definitely don't agree with in the way that it's produced, but nevertheless, we want you to think about balance. And when you think about balance, that means that you can take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, don't overdo it, don't go extreme, and still be powerfully successful as far as your health is concerned. All right, everybody, we're getting ready to wrap it up here. And as we wrap it up, I'm just going to give you a couple of things that you can look in for more history You can look at the history, especially the discovery of a vitamin. That is discovery of the vitamin, and the era of vitamin discovery was from 1910 to the 1950s. So that's something that you can look at more. We talked about that, excuse me. We talked about that a little bit today, and we shared that that's something that you should find out about, because I guarantee you that most of us out here don't know anything about vitamins other than vitamin C. And that's when people say, yeah, well, you know, I ain't gonna make fun, but that's when people actually say that eating vitamin C is good for a cold. Okay, you've heard that before, because vitamin C is in practically everything. Yeah, and so yeah, with vitamin C, they have this a drink that I don't want to use any of these. I've been avoiding it, so I won't say it, but they have a drink that's mostly color, flavoring, and water, and they add vitamin C on it, and they make huge money. And most of those drinks that we call beverages, take time to study them. That's all I got to say. Now, you can also study the fat versus the sugar and the protein gap. And that's from 1950s to the 1970s. Now, one of my favorite favorite projects in researching is in this, and I think you'll find it too, and that's the diet-related chronic diseases and supplementation. So diet-related chronic diseases, what does that mean? Those diseases that are connected with diet. So atherosclerosis, the hardening of the veins or your arteries, or it's called arteriosclerosis. Now, or is actually sclerosis. Now, the thing that happens here is like when you're eating saturated fat. Find out more about saturated fat and polyunsaturated fat. We'll go into the oils later. Got a beautiful presentation for you for that. So make sure that you stay tuned to our station, stay on this channel. Make sure that you become a follower of the channel. Make your comments. This is all for you. This is all for us. We got to do better. Don't worry about getting it all in one shot, because it does get better as we go along. Okay, so the diet-related chronic diseases and supplementation, you can research that from the 1970s to the 1990s. Really, you're going to be knocked off your chair. Then when it comes to the evidence debates and the diet patterns, now this is super important here, because it's another, when you talk about the patterns, you talk also about the double burden. So these are things that need to be, proved through randomized studies and genetic consortiums. We'll go over that later, because it might be it's a little bit too much for right now, but most of this stuff happened in the 1990s, and it's still going on today. What's the best way to eat? What's the safest way? What's the healthiest way for humans? And that answer for me is eating the plant nutrient lifestyle. And you'll hear more about it as things develop. But many of the lifestyles are just simply, they're not effective at all. Okay, all right. We'll talk about the future of nutritional science in another presentation, some about the nutrition policy. We also like to let you know that many of the, let me see if I can actually go here. Just as we're getting ready to go off, I want to show you that we do have many, all of these are references. So what we've been sharing with you today, These are the references. So I'm running, I'm running the credits right now, okay? And it goes on and on. These are all the credits. Okay, so anyway, back to this. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm Dr. Farid Zarif, and this has been a wonderful share with you today. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for everybody for making it happen. Really appreciate it. Please put these things in motion. Hydrate yourself. Make sure that you keep track of your healthy numbers. That is your blood pressure. That is your weight. That is making sure that you stay hydrated, drink all through the day. Give yourself about 3 hours before you go to bed so you're not up through the night and being interrupted. Make sure you get plenty of sleep, plenty exercise. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you and share. And we will see you next Friday, the same time, the same place, and talking about the same.